We are on Lower Cemetery Ridge, and we are looking at the 4D environs. You can see the Little Bighorn Valley. The Little Bighorn River is the trees and the valley behind that. And you can see a little cut right in front of the trees. That is the 4D area. After Custer had left the right wing, stationed on Calhoun Hill and east of Battle Ridge, which is there, he took the left wing, companies E and F with the headquarters staff, moved east along Battle Ridge, and moving north, went past Last Stand Hill, which is out of sight now. But what he did was once he got to Custer Hill, Last Stand Hill, made a turn to the west and moved through Cemetery Ridge here. And as you can see, we have the cemetery here. Worked his way through the cemetery, worked his way over the bluff here, and right down into the flat area there. And that's where he ended up. Now, the reason he was going down there is that's where the non-combatants were, the women and children. They had fled the northern end of the village, which is a couple miles below us here to the south. They had fled up the valley, away from Reno's attack. And of course, Custer had been at Medicine Tail Ford, and the Indians were still to the north. They had fled all the way up here, and they had stopped running in the Squaw Creek area where a number of the Wickiups were here, the small Wickiup camp that was outside the main camp. So they were congregating in this area, possibly with warriors, some warriors. And Custer and the left wing, their whole reason for coming down here was to get a look at the women and children, possibly capture them. So they got down in this area, and they were out of sight from all the warriors that were coming from the Reno attack. So the warriors were attacking the right wing instead, the soldiers that they saw. They had no knowledge, really, of the left wing here, except for a select few. There were two groups under Wolf's Tooth and Bigfoot. They were to the north here, and they had actually spotted Custer along with his two companies as he rode around Last Stand Hill. The two groups had split up. One had mirrored the companies as they came through the cemetery here. The other groups positioned on Last Stand Hill briefly and actually fired a couple volleys into the van of the group as they moved down here, but they were not shaken at all. They continued to move down here. The Indian numbers were not great, so they couldn't really affect the left wing movement. Custer is still affecting his strategy, and he is able to move about the field with no problems. And so he came down here to gather intelligence, to look at the women and children, and what he did was he got down in this area and he found the 4D area, an actual place where he could cross the river and capture the non-combatants. If you capture the non-combatants, you can hold them hostage, and that would render the warriors impotent. You can win the battle with very little bloodshed, take everybody back to the reservation. Unfortunately, Custer gets down here with 82 men. He only has two companies, like I stated before, and he has 4,000 or 5,000 older men, women, and children in the group down here, and he realizes he cannot capture all these people with this small force. He needs more men, and he has recalled Captain Benteen earlier. So what he opts to do, instead of crossing the river and capturing some women and children, he opts to pull back from the 4D area and move up to the high ground here, and that's what he does. The companies move back here to Cemetery Ridge, and they take up positions here, hoping that Benteen is going to show up.